Okay. Now, this is how I knew Jordan Peterson's article was great before I even read it. And it was the fainting couch routine of one of the boiled potatoes with the skin left on that appears on CBC's At Issue panel. Yes, I am talking about Andrew Coyne. And he clutching his pearls and laying on his fainting couch with his petticoats array, wrote this. This is appalling. Quite apart from the blame the victim crapology of the thesis, the author is, and how can I put this, not well. A guy who took the time to write this screed is probably not well. If Peterson were not a clear and present danger, oh my goodness, if he were not a mouthpiece for every insane conspiracy theory and boiling resentment in the Trumposphere at a particularly perilous moment, I would be genuinely concerned for his health. Okay, sure. And annoyed that the Post was exploiting his infirmity. This is the guy who thought Biden was okay, by the way. Like a circus freak show. Okay. But not in the circumstances. It's a bit like when Rob Ford was mayor. He's clearly in distress and very obviously needs help, but I'll have more time for sympathy when he's no longer in a position to do harm. Okay, so you would think that he is saying, like, I don't know, maybe that Hamas maybe aren't the bad guys and maybe we should let them march in the streets on the weekend, stuff like that. No, it's a very well thought out Jordan Peterson article about how Canada writ large has genuinely been a bit of a bad neighbor to the Americans, taking them for granted, because part of Trump's threats to us about how I could take them over by force, but I could do it economically. I think that's a bargaining piece, but it also reveals a harsh truth. And that harsh truth is that our economy is in shambles. We are not as economically sound as we once were under Stephen Harper, and our woke military is overweight and their equipment is decrepit. So we could not just be taken over by the Americans, but by probably anybody, even problems from within. And Jordan Peterson writes that this anti-American nonsense, he says, such behavior, sadly, is a Canadian norm, particularly wherever the country is left-leaning, particularly wherever everyone believes axiomatically that we have all the virtues of our democratic compatriots to the south, and then some, particularly wherever everyone is inclined to point self-righteously to the wonders of our now dreadful and even oft murderous free healthcare system, and its oft associated highly dysfunctional, expensive, and increasingly unsustainable social safety net, and compare it to the free-for-all in the United States. They inevitably resort to if death threatens and they have the money. That combined attitude of essentially socialist sentiment and moral superiority was exemplified above all perhaps by former Prime Minister Trudeau. And I'm speaking now not of the Fields, who resigned in disgrace after sacrificing our economy to the gods of his self-serving utopian globalist delusion. I'm referring instead to the father who dallied so self-aggrandizingly with the Chinese Reds and the dictatorial communist Fidel Castro and rubbed the Americans' noses in it, moralizing intellectually and oh so fashionably all the while. We Canadians also pride ourselves in our peaceful and peacekeeping nature, contrasting that with the warmongering attitude of the gunslingers we secretly admire but publicly disdain, forgetting ever so conveniently that it is nothing but our positioning under the fearsome nuclear umbrella of the USA and our knowledge of the certainty of their military protection if push comes to shove that allows us to be the sheep of peace who bleat their undeserved self-regard with so little shame. That is so true. And I will put a pin on this by saying we're known around the world by Canadians are so nice. I would say we're passive aggressive. I wouldn't say we're nice.
Oh no, we're passive aggressive, and so overtly morally superior. I mean, this is what Canadians claim, is that we are so much more superior than the Americans. It's almost laughable, when in truth, Americans run circles around us in terms of healthcare outcomes and their economic outcomes and uh, the opportunities that America provides its own citizens. One of the things that I thought was really funny about what Trump said in recent days about meeting with Justin Trudeau at Mar-a-Lago is that he joked. He was like, "Well, what if we stopped subsidizing Canada?" And Trudeau, like an idiot, admits, just goes on and admits, "Well, we'd be done. Well, we'd be screwed." I'm like, well done, buddy. Like really super well done. But I think what's being missed by a real large portion of Canadians is we've already been taken over by China. Okay.
Right.
The amount of interference, the amount of electoral interference, the amount of foreign interference in our elections, in our policy decisions, we have already been taken over by devious and really awful influences that we just have no concept of, that many people have no concept of. Some of us are awake to this. Some of us understand what's happened to the country, but America is way, way, way down the line of dangerous countries when we think about who's the most dangerous foreign influences on Canadian culture and society.
Yeah,
America's way down that line.
They would not influence us adversely. Like they would
benefit us.
When I think about American influence on Canadian culture, I think, man, I'd really love to wear a pistol on my hip at the grocery store like they do in Montana. Like I think about that stuff. I think about their Constitution, which is one of the single greatest documents ever written because it is a restraining order against the government. And not only that, but they thought about man's nature for tyranny, our fallen nature for tyranny when they wrote it, knowing that now is a time where we believe in freedom, but there will come a time where good times make bad men. And we need to make sure that we restrain our government from overreaching during those times. That's what I think about when I think about American influence on our politics. But then you've got people like, did anything that I read there sound dangerous and mentally ill? It actually was so well written, it was difficult to read, Andrew Coyne. You should try writing like Jordan Peterson once in a while, you boiled potato.
He can't. I mean, all he's capable of is ugly little hot takes on the CPC and little barbs on Twitter. I mean, this is a bitter man who is in the dying embers of a institution that he's been part of since the very beginning. But I think just going back to your talking about the American Constitution, one thing that Americans understand a lot better than possibly any country is that when their federal government offers them something, they know that there's a trade. The federal government never offers you something in exchange for nothing. And if anything, Donald Trump is correcting that. I do believe that he's working in the best interest of the American people right now, and I can't wait to see the golden age of America. We would only be so lucky to be able to sort of ride on the coattails of that.
Yeah, I'm going to steal a turn of phrase from Sirius XM Patriots Andrew Wilkow. He frequently says, anytime the government is giving you something with an open hand, the other hand is a fist. So be careful what you take from the federal government.
Oh, hi, it's Ezra Levant here in Toronto with an important message because we need your help. Independent journalism in Canada is under attack. Government censors, big tech deplatformers, and the dying legacy media are all working together to maintain exclusive control on the information you receive. They don't want you to hear other voices like ours, and they really don't want you to be informed and to think for yourself. That's why the work we do here at Rebel News is so important. Our on-the-ground reporting, independent news shows, and special content you won't find anywhere else. It's all designed to give you trustworthy information and alternative viewpoints so you can decide for yourself. We don't get government money, and we are not owned by some big global conglomerate. We're funded by people just like you, so please support independent journalism. And help us continue our work by subscribing and becoming a Rebel News Plus member today, right here on the page. Go to rebelnewsplus.com.